All right, Mr. Homeowner. As we're talking about concrete settlement, a lot of our homeowners really appreciate understanding what caused these problems and how they found themselves in this position to begin with. So to better help answer your questions, I have this short video here that's going to help explain how that slab of concrete was originally constructed, okay? Cool, let's jump right into it. So, as we know, the main issue we're facing here, right, is concrete settlement. Question is, why does it settle? Essentially, what we're working with here are two types of soil. We got native soil, which naturally compacts over time, and we got fill soil. Now, fill soil is typically brought in to create a flat surface on which to build that new concrete on top of, okay? That soil is then compacted to a varying degree, okay? Forms of the concrete are going to be put in, and that slab is poured. However, in most residential circumstances, that soil wasn't properly compacted to begin with. So what do you think winds up happening when you drive your SUV on top of it? Exactly, it cracks, it sinks, right? Another main issue we face with concrete settlement is the drying and the shrinking of the soil. So think of kind of like a brittle sponge. That's kind of how your soil is acting in this situation, okay? And over time, what that's doing, it's creating something that we call voids. Now, these voids allow that concrete to then settle down into and crack, okay? And then the last main issue that we face with concrete settlement is going to be water erosion. So when you get heavy rainstorms, all that water gets pushed up underneath that slab of concrete and then washes away all that soil, which in turn, once again, is going to create those voids for that concrete to then settle down into. So based upon this information, what do you feel might be the root cause of your concrete settling? No, you're exactly right, 100%. All right, so the main question that we have after this, though, is, well, how do I fix this? What are the options that are laid out in front of me? So, historically, there have been two options for repairment. You got mud jacking and you got concrete replacement. Now, these options are nowadays considered historic or outdated, but thanks to new advances in science and technology, what we offer here at Groundworks is something called a poly-renewal system. Now, I'll get into that in just a little bit, but I just want to give you the name so you're a little bit familiar with it when I get to that topic, okay? So, mud jacking. Essentially, what mud jacking is they're going to be drilling fist-sized holes into the concrete, okay? And then they're going to be pumping what is called a slurry mixture. Now, this slurry mixture weighs a lot. It weighs anywhere from 100 to 150 pounds per cubic foot. That's because this slurry mixture is comprised of a multitude of things. You got soil, you got sand, you got cement, and honestly, you got any other aggregates that they can get their hands on, okay? But the main issue that we're facing here is weight, right? So that slab of concrete is already settling because that soil beneath it can't support the weight of it. So what do you think might happen if we pump another 100 to 150 pounds of slurry mixture into already compromised soil? Exactly, it's going to sink. You're just going to end up with the same situation that you had before. And in some instances, honestly, it's going to sink even faster. So you're just creating a worse problem for yourself. Another main issue with mud jacking is it's an eyesore. You see these baseball-sized holes? Not really appealing, is it? I don't think so either. Also, when they're pumping the slurry mixture into the ground, it's spurring out everywhere. So it's getting all over your driveway, your sidewalk, even your lawn. Does that look like a project or an option that you might want to consider? Glad to hear that. I honestly, with mud jacking, I like to say that it's adding an anchor to an already sinking ship, you know? All right, so that leads us into concrete replacement. So homeowners thought, well, I'll just do this the right way, right? I'll just rip it out and replace it. See, the problem with this is, though, that it's expensive, it's invasive, and it's time consuming too. So typically concrete takes anywhere from 28 to 30 days for it to properly cure. That means that if we're doing your driveway, you cannot park in your driveway for up to a month. That means you're parking on the street and hauling all your groceries back and forth, It creates a hassle for you as the homeowner, okay? Another main issue with concrete replacement is you're bringing in a bunch of heavy equipment, okay? So I'm talking loud jackhammers, sledgehammers, even excavators that can potentially cause damage to your landscaping. And once again, both of these historic repairs don't address the underlying issue, which is the soil. So, do either of these sound like an option that you might be considering exploring? I'm glad to hear that. So the question is, well, what do I do? So that's where we come in. With groundworks, like I said, we have something called a poly-renewal system, and it's a two-part system. Essentially how it works is we inject this polyurethane foam into the soil, and the two-part comes from it stabilizes the soil first, and then it achieves lift on that concrete too, because it goes in as a liquid, fills those voids, and then expands as a foam to create that leveling effect, or that stabilization effect, I should say. So I have this short video here. It essentially explains how this process works and a little bit more about what it is, okay? After this, I'll go ahead and go through a few more bullet points with you just to better help explain the system and maybe what you're looking for, okay?
Uneven, settled, and cracked concrete slabs can be a major problem when left uncorrected. Ugly cracks, pooling water, and dangerous trip hazards are just some of the effects of sinking concrete. Concrete replacement is expensive, invasive, and doesn't address the real root of the problem, the soils under the slab. Soil moves under slabs for three principal reasons. First, soil settles due to poor compaction. During construction, fill soil is often used to even out the building site. Unfortunately, strict procedures on compaction are not always followed. Over time, as the weight of the concrete bears down on these soils, they begin to consolidate and are no longer able to support the weight of the slab above. The next issue is the erosion of the soil due to poor drainage. During rainy seasons, homes with drainage issues wind up channeling massive amounts of water under the concrete. Over time, this leads to the soils literally being washed away. And the third issue is the soil shrinking due to overdrying. During extended dry seasons, heat from the sun radiates through poured concrete and superheats the soils underneath. These heated soils dry out and actually shrink like modeling clay left out in the open. The dried soils create voids under the slab, and the heavy concrete settles into these voids. Your slab is at the mercy of these soils. When the soils underneath the slab settle, erode, or dry and shrink, your slab reacts by cracking and dropping. Obviously, doing nothing is not an option. So how do you fix this embarrassing and often dangerous situation? In the past, homeowners had two choices: mud jacking or total concrete replacement. Mud jacking is heavy, it doesn't last, and often washes out, is very messy to install, and doesn't fix the problem. Total concrete replacement is even more invasive, expensive, and most importantly, doesn't address the real issue: inadequate soil. The Settle Stop Poly Renewal System is a commercial-grade, expansive polyurethane foam that was designed to address all three of the issues causing your slab to fail. Here's how this system works. A small penny-sized hole is drilled through the slab and down to the soils underneath. The ports and injection equipment are set up, and the high-density polymer is injected under your slab. The two-part urethane goes in as a liquid, allowing it to find all cracks and crevices. Within seconds, it fills the voids as it expands, compressing the soil, then stabilizing and lifting the slab. The small holes are then filled with cement. Your slab is now permanently stabilized. In fact, your repaired concrete is immediately ready for use. It can even support interstate level traffic within 15 minutes of installation. Let the Settle Stop Poly Renewal System improve how your home looks, eliminate dangerous trip hazards, and restore your peace of mind.
Pretty cool stuff, huh? Well, glad you said it, not me. All right. So, as he was mentioning in that video, essentially, the installation process is super simple, okay? You're going to be drilling penny-sized holes, no more than the diameter of your pinky, okay? And then we're going to be injecting that polyurethane foam, and it's, like I said, it's going to go in as a liquid, fill those voids, and then expand as a foam to create that stabilization of the soil and the leveling of the concrete, okay? Another great thing about the poly renewal system is that it acts as a thermal barrier, What that means is that there's a barrier in between the slab and the soil. So that means that that soil is not going to dry and shrink anymore, causing you with the same issue that you had before. It also is hydrophobic, which means it's not waterproof, but what it does is when we inject the poly renewal foam, it's going to squeeze out all that water to help prevent more wetting and softening of the soil. Also, as he mentioned in the video, it's usable within 15 minutes. So you're not waiting close to a month to use your new slab of concrete. And then once we install the polyurethane foam, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to grind out all the cracks so that we can properly seal them. And we do this because we don't want additional water seeping into the cracks of that slab, and then in the wintertime, them expanding and causing more cracks. So we're going to properly seal it for you. And then the greatest part about this system, unlike regular concrete, is it comes with a warranty. It comes with a 5-year warranty. That means that within those 5 years, if that slab settles even more than 1/4 of an inch, we will come out and inject it, no problem. So, after reviewing all of this, does that sound like a project that you may be interested in? Well, I'm glad you said that. Let me go ahead and gather your proposal and I'll get started on that, okay? Okay.